Hi, I'm Hillary Wilson. Today we are going to be talking about the use of technology in the classroom to support differentiation and assessment. First, let's discuss the basics of what differentiation and assessment look like in the classroom. Then I will identify 3 tech tools for potential district implementation that address the needs of 21st century learners in the classroom. Starting with differentiation, I'd like to read a quote by Carol Ann Tomlinson. She writes, "Teachers who differentiate provide specific alternatives for individuals to learn as deeply as possible and as quickly as possible without assuming one student's roadmap for learning is identical to anyone else's." This does a great job of summarizing what differentiation should look like in the classroom with addressing each student's individual needs. Differentiation in the classroom can mean using various strategies to teach the same material, but it can also mean teaching material at different levels of difficulty based on student abilities. Differentiation in the classroom can occur in 4 different ways: through content, process, product, or the learning environment. Technology can also be used to help differentiate with many ways you may not have thought about, such as audiobooks for auditory learners, flipped video lessons, and even video games as formative assessment. Speaking of formative assessment, let's discuss assessment in general in the classroom and the difference between formative and summative. First, the Office of Educational Technology writes, "All learners deserve assessments that better reflect what they know and are able to do with that knowledge." I think we've all been there as educators. We've either given assessments or seen students take assessments that we know are not really an accurate representation of what they know. Before we move on, though, let's talk about the differences between the 2 types of assessment. First, formative assessment is assessment for learning. This offers feedback for students during the learning process, but it also helps teachers direct instruction. Summative assessment, on the other hand, is assessment of learning. This is going to take place at the end of a unit or topic, and it provides feedback after all learning has occurred. One of my favorite quotes, perhaps, about assessment is by Robert Stake, and he states, "When the cook tastes the soup, that's formative, but when the guest tastes the soup, that's summative." I can't think of a better way to kind of keep those 2 separate. So formative, of course, you're going to test something before you put it out there for everybody else to eat. Same thing with assessment. You want to check your students along the way before they have to show you all their knowledge on an end of unit assessment. Technology can also be helped with assessment in the classroom, such as online review games, adaptive testing for English language learners and students with disabilities. You also have real-time feedback for students and teachers, and the creative component gets to come in here as well with creative presentations or multimedia productions, and also performance-based assessments. So when we put it together with technology, there's 3 specific technologies I want to discuss with you for implementation. Before that, though, let's talk about this quote. So, "Hey Joey, I taught my dog to talk." His friend says, "Really? Then why isn't he talking now?" Joey says, "I said I taught him. I didn't say he learned." As we can see, teaching and learning are 2 completely different things. Everyone teaches, but the students that truly learn are those with teachers that use differentiation and assessment within their classroom. Technology can help this process to further encourage better learning within the classroom as well. So as we've been seeing over time, the days of students strictly taking assessments with pencil and paper are long gone. Cell phones have become this awesome resource, and they're great for teachers who want to utilize quick formative assessments. As we know, technology-based formative assessments can offer real-time reporting of results, but this allows your stakeholders to understand students' strengths and weaknesses while guiding them to make valid, actionable interpretations of the assessment data, which really helps students take ownership of their assessments and their progress as they go. Computers have also allowed more online assessments, which further offer instant feedback for students and teachers to help guide that individualized, differentiated instruction. Online assessments are even more benefits in that students and teachers have a lot of help from this, such as faster scoring, those adaptive tools we talked about for ELL students and students with disabilities, innovative constructs beyond multiple choice, better student engagement in the learning process, and you can better measure higher order thinking skills beyond just a paper and pencil multiple choice test. So let's jump into our first tech tool, Quizlet Live. So Quizlet has long been known as a flashcard study tool for students, but did you know that it can now be used for formative assessment? Quizlet Live forces students to work together to solve vocabulary definitions. Feedback data at the end is especially beneficial for both students and teachers to guide instruction. In one quote in the readings, evidence suggests that students learned 1 year of content in 6 months in classrooms that use formative assessment. So this is something that all teachers really need to be incorporating on a regular basis. Now let's take a look at Quizlet Live in action in a 9th grade biology class. As you can see, students are highly engaged in the process and collaborate to answer the questions. The projector shows their progress compared to other groups for a fun element of competition. Then, once complete, the Quizlet program shows what was learned and what we know on the projector for students to truly reflect on their learning, but also for the teachers to help address any misconceptions. So here's a closer look at that end of game review. So you see the What We Learned tab and you see the What We Know tab. Even better for the teachers is that the What We Learned shows what it was, but it also shows what the students initially confused it with. So this is a great opportunity to use data to reflect on this formative assessment. Moving on to USA Test Prep is a way to further maximize assessment data. USA Test Prep is a great study tool for students, but also an excellent program to help teachers differentiate instruction. Teachers can create custom assessments specifically tied to domain or standard, and then after the students take assessment, teachers can assign remediation. Let's look at that in more detail. So you see the students here, and you see a mix of green, yellow, and a pinkish red dot. These dots are showing their mastery of the content standards. Green is they got it, yellow, they're working towards it, and red is going to need some remediation. Then on the bottom, you see those 2 blue buttons. The one assigns individual weakness based on each student's weaknesses, and then you can also assign average weakness based on the class weakness in general. This allows teachers to really make sure students are maximizing the standards and mastering them at the same time. It involves that individualized instruction that teachers, it's too time consuming for teachers to spend all this time calculating all this data and applying it. So it does all the hard work for you. Lastly, we're going to talk about Edpuzzle. So Edpuzzle is flipped classroom, but it's a whole new level than just videos. As we know, many teachers have jumped on that flipped classroom train and have had great results doing so, but the issue of video engagement still remains. This is where Edpuzzle comes in. You can embed your own videos or ones that are already there and add informative assessment, and students are now engaging with the videos instead of just watching them. Here's a sample of a video and then a question that a student would have to reply to. Teachers can also disable skipping ahead, so students must watch the entire video. I particularly liked this quote from Leslie Owen Wilson, who said lecture is the least effective instructional strategy, with only 5 to 10% retention after 24 hours. This is where these flipped videos are really going to be important because they allow students to engage with the video as they watch, and then they have to participate instead of just watching a video, copying down notes, or even just copying down their friends' notes and not actually watching it. So it enables students to go deeper into the content, but teachers can also correct misconceptions, help students with difficult topics, and differentiate the delivery to help all students learn the content. As Flipped Learning Toolkit points out, instead of watching videos, students need to interact with the videos, and with Edpuzzle, this can be accomplished. So my recommendation for district implementation, of the 3, all of them would be wonderful additions to the district curriculum. But in terms of a price-motivated implementation, Quizlet Live and Edpuzzle are both free for educators and students to use. USA Test Prep does cost money, but in my opinion, the benefits far outweigh the costs in terms of assessment data and alignment to state standards. Because not all teachers flip their course material, Edpuzzle may not necessarily apply to everybody, and it would be extensive and time-consuming to reach all teachers. Quizlet Live and USA Test Prep are both formative assessment and provide data, but if I had to pick just one, it would be USA Test Prep. It's a wonderful resource for all grades, instant feedback, arcade games, custom assessments, remediation. You can share across your collaborative teams, and SAT and ACT prep for high school students. And here's a look at my presentation citations.